along with business leaders and members of Congress and union leaders to try to hash out a deal on that fiscal cliff. Joining me now to talk more about this, CNN contributor and Democratic strategist Maria Cardona and political science professor at Hiram College and Politic 365 contributor Jason Johnson. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning, Carol.
I know we have to talk about the fiscal cliff, but I'm dying to ask you about this scandal because it's all anyone's talking about. Jason, it's a mess.
I love the Real Housewives of the Pentagon. I mean, that's what we're looking at right now. It's ridiculous. And the interesting thing is, no one has actually broken a law. But what I think it is, it's a reflection of the fact that we still have a culture in the military where people can behave in this way, where you can have these sort of mistresses and people have these sort of backdoor relationships, et cetera, et cetera. I think the whole thing is more a reflection of maybe some problems we have in military culture than a huge national security issue, because so far, no laws have been broken.
Maria, the women involved in these scandals, it astounds me. They're accomplished women. They're educated. They're not 20, right? They're old enough to know better. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, absolutely, Carol. I do think it's sad to look at these women and to think that this is something that they have to resort to. But I think we also have to take a look at the men. I mean, it takes two to tango. And so all of these men with huge responsibilities, frankly, and I know it sounds like a cliche, but they should know better. And while I agree with Jason, so far we don't think any law has been broken, but these are the men that are entrusted with our nation's highest secrets. And for them to be communicating with their mistresses on Gmail, I mean, come on. They just weren't thinking. And I think that gives us all pause about what our leaders are doing.
Well, they were thinking, but we won't go into that. Let's switch gears. Let's switch gears and talk about the fiscal cliff, because as you know, President Obama is meeting with progressive leaders and also union leaders to talk about the fiscal cliff. What do you suppose he's saying to them, Jason? He's
saying, please, 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 I just got reelected. Let's not have anyone remember 2011. Look, this fiscal cliff is a result of really Barack Obama's weak negotiating skills with the Republican Party throughout 2011, which was thus far the weakest year of his presidency. And he's got to convince people, progressives to make some compromises and Republicans to make some compromises. Otherwise, what weak sort of recovery we're facing right now is going to be destroyed on January 1st.
So I guess tomorrow he's going to meet with business leaders, Maria, and business leaders haven't expressed much love for the president. So what might he say to them?
Well, I think what he'll say to them is has nothing to do with weakness, because let's remember who won on Tuesday, and let's remember that the majority of the American people support what President Obama was very, very clear about what he wanted to do if he was reelected, and that is to deal with the fiscal cliff and deal with the debt and the deficit in a fair and balanced way, meaning that he would protect the middle class and not let their tax cuts go up, while at the same time making sure that the wealthiest Americans pay a little bit more and pay their fair share. 60 to 70% of the American people absolutely support that route, Carol, a lot of them Republicans. So he will go in there both today and tomorrow with a very strong hand in terms of negotiating with business people and with the Republicans.
So, Jason, some wise lawmakers said the worst time to negotiate is before an election, and the best time to negotiate is after an election. So maybe there's hope.
Well, look, there's hope, because I think, right after the election, you had John Boehner come in and say, look, we'll be willing to accept some revenue increases at some particular point. But like I said before, I think it's a reflection of how weak Obama was just 2 years ago. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be in this situation. Look, I think the Republican Party realizes that they were absolutely wiped out last week. They really do need to negotiate more. Barack Obama needs to stand his ground for once. He never has to run for re-election again. And I do think we can get a conclusion that's not going to lead us to some sort of horrible economic apocalypse. But that's only if the Republicans negotiate and Barack Obama remains strong.
Okay, so I'm going to ask both of you for your predictions. How long will it take lawmakers to come up with a deal? Maria?
I think it will take up until the middle of December.
Jason.
I think it'll be a Christmas surprise for everybody. I think they're going to be until the last minute, and they're going to leave at the absolute last minute. Both sides are going to hold out to look tough.
That would be.
But
they
I
could
think-
give us a
I
big
think-
gift box of compromise on Christmas Eve.
I think Republicans really understand, well, I think, at least I hope they do, and they should listen to Bill Kristol, who over the weekend, Carol, basically said that they should give Barack Obama what he wants. He doesn't believe that raising taxes on the wealthiest is going to negatively impact this economy. He understands, and I think a lot of Republicans understand, that their brand is facing huge peril. It's facing a cliff of political oblivion of their own.
Well, we'll see. Maria Cardona, Jason Johnson, thank you so much for playing today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Carol.
All right, back to the scandal that just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Jill Kelly, seen